Yo, what's up guys, King Jerry here, and let's hop right into this video about a few of the NBA athletes who came from awful childhoods, with bad situations, and poor families. Now these athletes are in no order at all. I didn't rank them on how bad their childhood was or how bad the conditions they grew up in are. I just have 4 stories here of NBA players who had it rough as a child. So the first story is LeBron James. LeBron, we all know, was born in Akron, Ohio, and now plays for Cleveland Cavaliers of his home state, Ohio. He was born to a 16-year-old mother and a father who left him because he was not interested in having a child while he was probably, I don't know how old he was, but I can assume he was in high school, probably a junior or a sophomore. So LeBron growing up did not have a father figure most of his life, and his mother was very poor. She could not keep a job, and that often had him moving from apartment to apartment. His mom struggled to get money to provide for LeBron to put food on the table and shelter over his head. Eventually, LeBron had to move in with his pee-wee football coach for over a year in order for him to provide a safe environment for LeBron to live, because LeBron's mother was struggling to provide for him. But we all know how it worked out. Once LeBron got into high school, he started to shine. He is an amazing athlete, just a natural, and eventually became the greatest player in the NBA right now, and eventually an all-time great, maybe even the greatest of all time. Alright, the next story we have is Kuran Butler, who was born in Racine, Wisconsin, into a very poor family who did not care at all about his actions or what he did. By the age of 9, he was shooting guns. By the age of 11, he was dealing drugs, and he went to jail 15 times by the time he was 15 years old. Growing up, he didn't idolize star athletes or famous actors or anything. He idolized drug deal kingpins. He wanted to be just like them and often brags about how he had 10 G's hidden in houses from his drug money. Now, often people who go to jail multiple times by the age 15, let alone 15 times, end up staying in prison for their whole life or going into lives of crime. However, Kuran Butler eventually, while he was in prison, was able to find an escape through basketball and realized that he can't go into a life of crime. He won't accomplish anything, and he started grinding out basketball. He was good as a kid, and he started to grind, and eventually was recognized in high school and was offered a scholarship to UConn. And we all know what happened there. Kuran Butler, I believe, even made the All-Star game one time, so good for him. His career is pretty much over now. I don't know if he still plays, but if he does, he is pretty old. What we have on here is Serge Ibaka. Now, Serge Ibaka grew up in Brazzaville, Congo. I don't know if I said that right, but Serge Ibaka had 18 siblings growing up, so his parents were putting in some pretty good work. But considering where he grew up, Serge Ibaka was not the poorest out there, as his parents were both professional basketball players in Africa. However, unfortunately, by the time Serge Ibaka lost his mother at 8 years of age, and by the time he turned 9, the Second Congo War started, almost tearing his family apart. Now, Serge Ibaka, since he was 7 years old, loved basketball, but he didn't have the best conditions in Congo and was often playing on wooden backboards with poor shoes and cracked courts everywhere. But like I said, when he was 9, the Second Congo War started, almost tearing his family apart, and he didn't have enough time to focus on basketball. He had to move to a small town for 4 years during the war, where there was no electricity, no running water, and he had to live there for 4 years. His only escape was basketball, and he already had good blood for basketball, as both his parents were professional basketball players. Now, after those 4 years in that small town with no running water or electricity were up, and he returned to Brazzaville, his dad was jailed until the end of the war for a year, essentially for being on the wrong side of the battlefield. That just makes things even worse for Serge Ibaka, but we all know he turned out to be a great player for the OKC Thunder. He could have won a championship if KD didn't leave, but we all know what happened about that. KD, you're a snake. The final story we have is Jimmy Butler, and I believe this is probably the saddest story on the list. Now, as you all know, I am not going too in-depth into these, and I did not spend too much time finding about the stories, but I do know Mike Corzan put today's video on Jimmy Butler, so go check that out if you want to hear more about this story, because you find it interesting. Now, by the time, or let me just restart that. Jimmy Butler didn't have a father figure for most of his life. His father left while he was very young, and by the time he was 13 years old, his mother kicked him out of the house, saying, "I don't like the look of you, you gotta go." Now, all I know is if my mother said that to me, even if she wasn't serious about it, I would cry. Like, I can't believe that must have been so hard for Jimmy Butler. He was moving from house to house, no money, no food, trying to find a place to live. It must have been so hard for him, but he did have basketball as his escape. Now, throughout his high school, he mainly, like I said, was moving house from house, and eventually his senior year, he moved in with the family of one of his friends on the basketball team, took him in, and that family already had 7 children, so Jimmy Butler had to share a family with 8 children, but I'm guessing it's better than living on the street without many food. Now, like I said, he did play basketball through high school, and at the end of his high school career, Jimmy Butler did not receive any scholarships to any major colleges, so he pursued his basketball career at a small local college, where eventually, after tearing up the competition there, was offered a scholarship to many D1 colleges and eventually signed with Marquette. But let's just take a moment and reflect at what his mother said to him. "I don't like the look of you, you gotta go." Oh man, that's just so bad. His mother had many other children and could not afford. I understand she's in a tough condition, but you cannot abandon a child like that. But anyway, we're getting off topic right now. I hope you guys enjoy. I'll see you guys in the next one, and I'm out. Peace.